I, Shivani Khandate, on behalf of Postgraduate Teaching Department of Law, Nagpur University, welcomes you all to the seventh day of our pre-PhD coursework. There is a request to every participant that at the end of each session, you shall post your queries in the chat box, and as the resource person permits, she or he will answer to your queries. Today, for the first session, we have with us Dr. Priya Sondhi ma'am. She is currently working as an associate professor at Bennett University, Greater Noida. She was formerly the associate dean at Asian Law College, Noida. She has done her master's as well as bachelor's degree courses from Rajasthan Tuklodji Maharaj Nagpur University. She has learned the art of advocacy at the Bombay High Court Nagpur bench and other courts in Nagpur. Ma'am has more than 11 years of progressive teaching experience. She has taught at some of the most reputed colleges in Nagpur prior to joining Bennett University, including symbiosis, including ILS Law College, Pune, and Nalsa University of Law. She has been invited as a resource person by many prominent institutions like NIDM, Jamia Millia Islamia University, and JNU. Her insights and training in disaster management law were recognized by the government of Maharashtra, and she was made a member of State Government Committee for formulation of rules under the Disaster Management Act 2005. She has also co-authored a book named Disaster Management Law and Policy in India with late Professor Dr. Shirish Deshpande, retired head of the department, postgraduate teaching department of law. Apart from this, Dr. Sondhi ma'am has numerous paper public presentation to her credit, which has been published in many reputed law journals. Today, ma'am will be speaking on plagiarism and research in digital era. Ma'am, I would like to request you to kindly begin with your session. Over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a kind introduction. And to begin with, I would like to thank Payal ma'am and others at PGTD Law for inviting me. So in any case, as you would know, Nagpur University is very dear to me. And whenever I am invited for anything, I am always there for Nagpur University because almost all of my education is a gift of Nagpur University only. So thank you so much for inviting me. And the only issue here is this is online. I would have loved to have this session offline so that I would have got an opportunity to visit my department once again. So I think we can start. Now, this session, which I would like to take for you, is basically on research in current era. Okay, so our focus is mainly on where we can go right and where we can go wrong. Now, where we can go wrong is more about something called plagiarism, which is a menace in today's world. Now, plagiarism as such historically was always a problem for us. Always. But this thing has increased now. Why? Because of the facility of online research, something which we did not have to the extent you people have now. So it's very easy to get material online. And then there are generators available which aid you in this kind of stealing, which is happening in almost all the universities. So if you think that it is something which is happening only near you, then you need to broaden your horizon to understand that this is a problem which is global in nature. And depending upon the institution you are serving, the penalties would follow. So there have been resignation of people, there have been strictures passed against people. So depending upon the institution, the action is taken. But then the point is action has to follow because this kind of thing cannot be allowed. So basically now we need to focus on what is plagiarism, then why not do it, go ahead with plagiarism. So what is wrong in plagiarism? Why it should be called as an ethical and legal offense? Then when not to do it. So here you would get to know what is excluded and what is included. So when not to do it, then how not to do it. Now, when it comes to research, you are bound to pick up something from what has been done by someone else. So it can't be 100% original, right? You would be picking up from the bare words of a statute. You could be picking from commentaries. Say, for example, if you're writing about constitution, then there is no way you would write an article without what Shirvai had said or what MP Jain has said. But then the point is, if you want to quote that, then how to do it, right? And then you have things like Turnitin and other things, because of which you could locate what is going wrong and how it is going wrong, right? Now, because I need to register for Turnitin session at my institution, I would first start with Turnitin and then we'll get to other PPTs so that my session doesn't expire. So I would be sharing the screen with you. Okay. Can you see this Turnitin?
Yes, ma'am.
So see, this is how you look at the things. So you need to launch the page first, the Turnitin page. Okay. So you would enter your password and other things and the page gets launched. Now here you have certain files. I have put one file exclusively for your session. See, this is the RM file. There are two documents, Turnitin A and Turnitin B. Now, if you are able to see, per se, if a person wishes to check, one file is showing 2% similarity and one is showing 57% similarity. Can you see this?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. So now we would go further and try to understand what this report is all about. Then you would see that there are some new options also available, right? So see, we will see this 57% report first. How to understand this report. So see, now that you are looking at this report, yeah. So you see the top searches and other searches. Now you would see that the percentage of similarity says epw.in, West Bengal National Law University, and it also shows you where exactly similarities are. So all the words which are similar have been marked and there are certain numbers written there, 19 say for example, 28 for example. Can you see that? Right. Now, though this report has 57 overall percent similarity, there's one thing which is very categorical about this report, and it is showing 0% AI. Right? Now, they say that percentage doesn't as such indicate academic misconduct, but then the point is this AI feature is comparatively new and your institution can take a call on that. Now, is there anyone who would like to tell me what is this AI issue? This is the report. See how
Madam, is
things
it
are.
about artificial intelligence finding out from where and
Mhm.
how the material is copied?
Yes. See, here even the conclusion seems to be copied. Right?
Yes,
57% similarity. Now, based on the norms which are present relating to plagiarism, the institution can take a call on this report. Right? Then I'll go to this B report. This says 2% similarity. So per se, it seems to be a very good work, right? But now we would see AI. Okay. Now the only similarity is, say, Aberdeen College, then Tamil Nadu National Law University, then this is jccl.ac.in and National Law University, Orissa. The only issue is that the topic seems to be copy paste, but then so many people can write on this, right? Other things seem to be clear. So your division seems to be clear, seems to be original. Other things seem to be original. Introduction is fine. Other things are fine. Now, if I move on with this submission, which is there, little bit of problem is there, but then less than 1% similarities, something which can be tolerated, right? So even conclusion seems to be fine, but then there is 89% AI. Now, do you find this problematic? Right. So this is how the first thing which I wanted to share with you was that nowadays, if you think that only what is available resource online is something which can be catched, you are mistaken. There are AI generation tools. What is the most recent AI generation tool? ChatGPT?
ChatGPT.
Right. So slowly and steadily, the way plagiarism tools are coming up or other things are coming up, similarly, Turnitin and other softwares are also changing and evolving. So we are catching up with the things, right? So the thing which I wanted to point out, the key concept which you have is that technology is evolving both ways, right? So if you have help when it comes to plagiarism, we have help when it comes to checking plagiarism, right? So with this, we would start with the session. I would share the screen. Yeah. Now, can you see the PPT?
Yes, ma'am.
Plagiarism and
Yes,
research
ma'am.
in digital era. Now, as I told you, the important thing which you need to know is what exactly is plagiarism, why not do it, when not do it, and how not do it. These are the essential questions which you have your key issues. Now, see, what is plagiarism? So to begin with, we started with an idea which is somewhere there in Latin language, plagiarius. So the meaning was to kidnap or plunder. Now, how do we understand it our way? You abduct a word or idea or explanation, anything which has been done by someone else is plagiarism. Because what you are doing is you are just picking it up and showing it as your own, something which is not permissible. You can show as your own what you have written, right? What you have created. If it is someone else's creation, whatever it is, it might be a word, it might be explanation, it might be idea, hypothesis, conclusion, it belongs to someone else, not you. So that is what is plagiarism. In legal language, if you want to understand the things, then it is wrongful appropriation or stealing of publication of another author's language, idea, expression, represent it as your own work, your own original work. Now, this is considered as academic dishonesty. So, when it comes to where you can get caught, the point is it is academic dishonesty. It gives an impression that you are not honest with your work. And it is breach of journalistic ethics. Now, why journalistic ethics? Try to understand. When you want to publish something, every journal has its own norms which need to be followed. Now, if you do not follow the norms of that particular journal, then they might simply reject your article. They have full right to do it. See, they are not under the obligation to publish whatever you give to them. You follow their norms, then they'll publish or they'll reject. Right? Then it is subject to sanctions like expulsion from university. Now, expulsion from university is something which is slightly unheard of. I mean, it is rare, not very frequently done. But then there could be other sanctions which are there. So it could be, say, reprimand. That is, you could be given a warning, or you could be just, if the teacher is very liberal, you could just be told to change your work and resubmit. Then you might get a F grade. I mean, I believe we get F grade in Nagpur University, right? You have failed in exam. Why? Because you have submitted wrong thing. So it depends upon the university norms, but it ranges from initial reprimand when it comes to little bit of plagiarism to expulsion in severe cases. So you keep on doing it, and then you could be liable to expulsion also, because you are behaving in a manner which is unbecoming of a student. So you might be expelled also. Then it is treated as serious ethical offense. So it results into general disrepute for you. Why? Because you have broken the ethical norm of academics. And yes, you could be getting caught under copyright also. So depending upon where exactly you ventured, the sanctions would follow. Then why not do it? Now that we have understood what exactly is plagiarism, why not do it is the question. So when it comes to this particular question, the answer which I give to people, which anybody and everybody can understand, whether you are a 10th class student or a PhD student or a faculty, simply because it is not your work. This is the simplest way of understanding. It is not your own. It belongs to someone else. You simply cannot steal what belongs to someone else. The way you cannot simply pick up things from somebody's shop, similarly, you simply can't pick up somebody's idea like that, right? Then it helps in further research, searching for references and other things. See, if you have come up with a proper footnoting, it helps in further research. Why? If you see good articles which have been written by good faculty, good students, you would find introductory signals in that particular writing. So there would be introductory signal of comparison, signal of say acceptance. So depending upon the varying introductory signals which have been used, the most frequent introductory signal which is used is see also, right? So what is see and see also? Affirmation. So when you use these kind of signals, what you say is this particular point or idea has been written in this particular source. And if you want to understand more, you need to see this particular resource also. Then there could be, I mean, as you go ahead with writing, the developed writing, there could be an introductory signal of contra also. But now what is contra? So you would find a footnote which shows you where exactly you pick the material from. Plus you would see a footnote which talks about a contrary or argument which is also existing. Now, if I do not wish to write down the contrary argument in my article or my piece of writing, but I feel that an advanced learner should be aware of a contrary argument also. So I would put an introductory signal of contradiction there and then put a footnote so that the reader who is an advanced reader who is interested in reading can read that also. So depending upon the level of writing and level of introductory signals which have been used, it helps in further research. So introductory signals saying that yes, affirmation, introductory signal of comparison, of contradiction. So that is how the levels keep increasing and aiding you in research. Then for verifying the information provided. Now try to understand this. If you have submitted one project to me, which talks about a reference of, say, Shirvai. Shirvai, volume 2, page number, say, 102, and a particular edition. So I would just go to the library and check, because almost all good institutions have these things. If I have this book available in my library, or I don't have that particular edition, then I can get back to my friends and I can go to libraries and check. Now, if I start searching and I realize that the particular information which you have written, the edition number, the page number, the volume number you have quoted, the information is not there, then what kind of impression I would get? It means either you have picked up this information from someone else's work, or you were just not serious while you were generating the resources for yourself. While you were doing footnoting, you simply forgot which edition of Shirvai was there. So just for the sake of finishing work, you simply wrote something. So all wrong idea goes about you. So verification. Now, if you feel that your teachers never do verification because they have to see assignments of so many students, please don't entertain that belief. Okay. Now, show the sources of facts and ideas used. As I said, you verify, you understand what are the true sources in providing information without overburdening the text. So I'll come back to the same example. I've written an article. I don't want to write the contrary information. So I'm putting forward a particular idea, and there is one more idea which exists. But not every reader would be able to relate to it. Some readers might get confused if both the things are written together. But if the stakeholders who would be reading my articles might range from average performers to advanced learners, I'll have to write the contrary argument also. Now, in order to do justice to my piece of writing, I would not put it in the main text. What I'll do is I'll write it with footnote so that it aids me. Then, in sharing information, opinion, observation, and views, so that is how you do it, compiled from other sources. Then the examiner, while evaluating the thesis. This is the most problematic thing for the students who have done hard work for 3-4 years. Now you write something and your supervisor or examiner would simply point out that this is not original, this is not original. Now, better be cautious about your footnotes. Then face the music afterwards. Now, the problem which most of the students tell me is, see, it's a matter of 3-4 years of work. We visit so many libraries, and many a times we don't keep the data properly. Many a times that particular page is lost. Many a times we are just scribbled and that particular thing is no longer with us. So you cannot come up with these excuses. This is your hard work of 3-4 years. You need to maintain the data. And because you are aware at this initial stage itself that plagiarism is something which we would not appreciate. So you need to maintain a data of what material you have collected from which place. And generally, I suggest that you start with footnoting in July method. Initially only, write it there only in the article, in the hard copy of the article, or maintain a document, Word document in your files wherein you have written the entire thing. Because July footnoting is something which would give you all the information. So then even if you are required to convert it into some other footnoting, still you will be able to manage well. Then, of course, legal issues, plagiarism, and copyright violations. So, as I told you earlier, also depending upon the level of stealing you have done or the level of venture, you will get caught. Now, as I said, what is important for you to notice when not to do it. Now, when I am doing research, the entire article can't be original. I might be required to quote from Shirvai, I might be required to quote from MP Jain. These are big authors. They have come up with great ideas. And no research when it comes to constitutional law is complete without quoting them. But then how exactly to do it is the problem, and when not to do it. So in an academic essay, whenever you are quoting the exact words of some author or writer, so if you are quoting from the exact words of MP Jain or Shirvai, then be very careful that you do it as per the norms of the journal. Okay, so your journal would tell you how many words you can simply pick and how to do it, whether it is to be done with some kind of indentation, or it has to be done in inverted comma, or it has to be done in italics. Whatever your journal says, you must do. Then closely summarizing a passage from another writer. This is too much, that somebody has written something and you summarize and you put it forward as your own. So you can't do it. Then using an idea or material which is directly based on work of some other author. That is also not good. Somebody else has done something. You want to quote it, then follow the norms of your journal. Whatever suggestions have come your way. Generally, what we do is almost all the journals would come up with difference in indenting or use of italics or use of inverted comma. That kind of norm is there. So you need to do that. So you must identify and acknowledge your source in a systematic style of referencing. Otherwise, you are accused of plagiarism. Now, be very careful on one thing. If there's one journal which has given you a particular style of going ahead with quoting, don't assume that another journal would also follow the same pattern. Every journal has different pattern. Now, what is allowed in, say, for example, Oscola might not be allowed in APA. What is allowed in APA might not be allowed in MLA. So please be very careful when it comes to these things. Now, when not do it, there's one more thing. So you have these 5 norms which have come up, which tell you in varying degrees what are the actual issues and how exactly to handle the issues. So these are the UGC norms. Now there is one norm which is very categorically distinct in this. Can you tell me? Categorically different and something which is problem creator for students. That is what they say, that it is a problem creator norm. Which one is that?
Ma'am, self-plagiarism?
Correct, self-plagiarism. Now you cannot go ahead with plagiarism when it comes to your own ideas also. Interesting, right? So if I have written an article on, say, for example, Devadasi, or I have written on gender sensitiveness in disaster management, I write another article on the same topic for some other journal, and I want to quote something which I have written earlier. I'll also have to follow the same guidelines for what I have done myself. I can't do self-plagiarism also. It is my own work. Still, I cannot do it. So I have to follow certain guidelines to be able to quote what I have earlier published. So this is something which sounds problematic to most of the students because they go ahead with continuation of same idea when it comes to writing their PhD thesis. So I've seen students who have taken a particular topic when it comes to their LLM thesis, and they want to continue with that only when it comes to LLM dissertation. They want to continue in PhD thesis. Why? Because they feel that it is midway. What I have done when it comes to my dissertation, it's already 200 pages. So converting it into 400 pages is comparatively easier for me. But then now, if you have already written 200 pages as a part of your LLM dissertation, and you want to make it 400 as a part of your PhD thesis, then please, there's a caution from my side, clear word of caution that it would amount to 50% plagiarism. Because you cannot go ahead with self-plagiarism also. So I hope this idea is very clear in your mind. So please don't attempt with continuation of the same idea when it comes to your PhD. That can make you land in trouble like anything. Now, the issue is sometimes people come and say that there are certain things which are so normal that they get duplicated again and again. Some ideas which are so clear in minds that all the minds would think like that only. No, you have read Article 21. So the initial explanations to Article 21 remain the same. They have to, because that is the idea of Article 21. Now, how do we make changes in that? Those words, they cannot be changed. See, there is one more thing which you need to understand when it comes to writing your PhD thesis. There's something which we tell our PhD students. Golden words cannot be changed. Now, what are these golden words? The golden words which are there in statute. Can you change the language of statute? I mean, who are we to go ahead with change of language of statute? So many minds have been applied on that. These are golden words which are there in the statute. Then there's one more thing, and that is golden words which have been written by a judge. So some Supreme Court judge has written a particular explanation. Can we change it? Where do we stand when it comes to coming up with a change in that particular language? We would change the meaning also if we try to change. So golden words cannot be changed. They have to be repeated. So you need to go ahead with quotation and write that so and so judge said this thing. Right? Say, for example, the COVID vaccination policy is arbitrary. Now you cannot make change in this golden word. Why? Because it has been uttered by the Chief Justice of India. You will have to go ahead with quoting that. And you will have to go ahead with referencing. That is the only thing which you can do. But then to what extent you can do it? So up to 10% is fine, acceptable, because golden words cannot be changed. Between 10 to 40% is level 1. So generally, if we find that there is a 10 to 40% plagiarism when it comes to work of a student, we simply return that work and we say just make changes and come. Add something new, think about something, and then we consider it. 40 to 60% we generally give back with a warning. Okay? And it is a very clear warning. You do this thing again and then you will be in trouble. But then above 60%, the level 3, then what do we do? Yes? Okay, class, if you are teacher and you receive a submission which has more than 60% plagiarism, what would you do? Happily accept?
No, ma'am.
No, sir.
No, you will not. So
No.
generally, when it comes to many institutions, above 60%, you need to just put the F mark. There's no way out. Okay. So this is how generally almost all the institutions behave. Up to 10%, you'll get good marks. 10 to 40%, they'll return to you. Okay, please make changes. 40 to 60% and the last day of submission is gone. Then, depending upon the teacher or just before the last date, you will get reprimand. Strict warning. But more than 60, clear F. There's no other way out. And this is as per the UGC norms. So if teachers are doing this to you, they are not trying to become demons of your life, because they are also answerable at various levels. So they can't help it, right? And as I have quoted, it is UGC public notice on draft UGC regulations. We simply cannot help this. Now, the question is how not to do it. Fine, we have heard much about plagiarism, what exactly it is, why not do it, all those ethical arguments, legal arguments, when not to do it. But then the issue is how to safeguard yourself. So, how not to do it? Now, see, I have taken only one example because of the paucity of time. So, this is July mode of citation, JILI, please, okay? Journal of Indian Law Institute. Fine. Now you Google Journal of Indian Law Institution. The very first thing is the July mode of citation. So it's very easily available. Now this is example of book by single author. Okay. Now I've taken one example. I'll show you how footnoting would take place. So Code of Civil Procedure by MP Jain, first published in 2003, second edition of 2007. See, I told you earlier also, the best way to collect information is keep writing footnoting in July mode. Why? Because July mode requires a lot of information. So you have written first published, second edition, then published by Vadhva, place of publication Nagpur, and the page number. So this entire thing would be with you in a Excel sheet or a Word file, whatever is easy for you. But the point is, even after 3-4 years, if I'm required to go ahead with footnoting or cross-referencing, I know from where I have picked. I know that I had seen second edition and not first. So I cannot err. Why? Because all the information is there. So get into a habit of maintaining Excel sheet like this. and then everything would go on smoothly. You would be able to avoid plagiarism to much extent and safeguard yourself. Now, this information, how do we go ahead with footnoting? See, keep this kind of chart in your mind. See, MP Gen, comma, Code of Civil Procedure, 98, bracket opens, Vadhava, comma, Nagpur, comma, second edition, comma. So this is how the footnoting proceeds. Now see the points to observe. Did you see the points to observe here? So there are 7 pointers here. Name of author, title of the book, page number, publisher, place of publication, edition number, year of edition. This much information you need. Then see the punctuation also. Here also you have a lot of pointers. There's 1 comma, then italics, then bracket opens, then comma, 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 bracket closes, and full stop. So keep this kind of chart in your mind when you're going ahead with footnoting. This is all which you need to observe when you're going ahead with any kind of referencing, any kind. Fine. I've given this chart of July and one example only so that it just comes in your mind. Right? So is this part clear to all?
Yeah, madam.
So you can come up with these kind of charts when it comes to other things also. So how to go ahead with single author, how to go ahead with double author, how to go ahead with multiple author, or a book chapter published in a edited book. So go ahead with exercises of that kind so that you are able to clarify that more and more in your mind. It would get crystal clear as you practice. Fine. The more you practice, the clearer it gets in mind. The more you try to run away from it, the more you would land in trouble. So keep practicing, and whatever you refer, just write the footnoting, this middle part, no? Right there in the hard copy or maintain an Excel sheet, and things would be very easy for you. Smooth sailing. Yeah. Now this is a comparative between Oscola, July, Blue Book, and Standard Indian Legal Citation. So insofar as the legal studies part of things is concerned, this is what we generally follow, depending upon your institution. Now, Oscola is the Oxford citation. Journal of Indian Law Institute, of course, it is our own, July. Then Blue Book is the US based. And then there is something called Standard Indian Legal Citation, which is a citation draft which has come up because of National Law University. They are working on it. It's still in draft stage, but then some people have started following it because this is the Indian one generated by the National Law Universities. Now, just try to see the comparison between them. Okay, same information. MP Jain, Indian Constitutional Law, 5th edition, Kamal Law Publishers, Publishers of Calcutta, then edition of 1998, page number 98. Okay. Now please observe and tell me which of these follows the least punctuation.
Blue Book?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Which follows the least punctuation?
Blue Book?
Of course.
Blue book, madam. Blue book.
If you see book by single author, yes, Blue Book. But then there is an issue associated with Blue Book, I tell you. The recent edition of Blue Book requires you to, when it comes to online resources, which you people prefer to quote more, when it comes to online resources, you need to give the date when you have assessed the particular page and time also. That increases your task. So what seems to be simple, Blue Book, will get slightly difficult when it comes to your overall work. Now, how exactly you understand this? See, as such, Oscola has least punctuation. Okay. Now, try to understand this one also. Did you ever hear about IBID Infra Supra?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm?
Ma'am.
You've heard, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when it comes to Oscola, you can simply skip it. Fine. So you can go ahead with this punctuation method without a single full stop or a single, without much of punctuation. Now see, say for example, towards the end there is no full stop.
Yes, ma'am.
Then they ask for the name of publisher but not place of publication. So a lot of people believe that Oscola is simple. Why? Because you need not go ahead with that infra supra, which can create problem when it comes to cross-referencing, right? Now, towards the end of your work, if you are required to add one para, and then you have to do cross-referencing. So say, for example, it is infra at 99. Now there is a change in page number. So you need to sit back with your entire work and check this cross-referencing. It takes a toll of energies because you keep adding to your work, right? Even before the your pre-defense submission, you might be getting some suggestions from your supervisor or other people who are there in your RAC. You keep adding. So this advantage which you have, you need not do cross-referencing much in Oscola, is what makes Oscola a favorite of PhD students. Then July, you need to be very open to the fact that July is one of the oldest modes of citation. So that is the reason why they ask for almost everything. See, the publisher's name, place of publication, edition number, then towards the end there is a full stop also. They ask for almost everything which is possible. Just a second. Give me 15 minutes. Then comes standard Indian legal citation. So standard Indian legal citation is a balance between many modes of citation. But then, as I told you, of all the modes of citation possible, your supervisor would choose one of these. Or if you have option, you can choose any one of these. My personal favorite is Oscola. But then when it comes to collecting the data or information, my Excel sheet is always of July. And the reason behind that is, if the mode of the journal, the mode of citation followed by the journal, if that choice is given to me, I'll go ahead with Oscola. If that choice is not given to me, then I can make changes accordingly. It is very easy for me. Why? Because all the information is there in Excel sheet. So even when I write an article or a small article for a magazine, which could be only 3-4 pages, still I'll collect information in Excel sheet in July manner. So that is the reason why when it comes to footnotes, I'm very clear in my mind and I'm able to avoid mistakes. Fine. So I
Ma'am,
hope this
can
part.
I interrupt?
Yeah, sure. Tell me.
Yeah, ma'am, when it comes to saving your time and also when we talk about the new application like Jotero, so it actually converts the footnotes in all the manner like whatever Oscola or Blue Book means whatever you like. So how you go about that means, or we have to do it manually?
See, I'll come to that.
Okay.
Next is that only. Sorry. This is what you were asking, right?
Oh.
Now, oh, I'm sorry, I think the screen share stopped. Yeah, now you can see the screen? Yeah. Now see, there are reference management tools. So you're talking about Zotero, you're talking about EndNote Web or Mendeley.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how they exactly help you is, specifically when it comes to Mendeley, which is the most famous ones of all in the universities, what you need to do is, whatever information you collect, you need to put it in the software, right? So say, for example, I have 3 articles which I've collected online because of my university subscription to Westlaw or Hen Online, right? So I've collected some material. So I need to upload in Mendeley, and then based on the footnoting which I'm entering there in the Mendeley would do footnoting all by itself. Okay. So same thing is applicable to others also, whether it is Zotero, EndNote Web, right? So there would be some modes of citation which are allowed under that. You just need to click which one do you want to follow, and then they do it. So these are called reference management tools. So generally, some universities would give you aids for this. Say, for example, at Bennett, we follow the Mendeley. Just a second. Give me 15 minutes, please. I'm in a session. So at Bennett, we follow Mendeley, and we suggest all the scholars to use Mendeley. Why? Because once you have all your data stored in Mendeley, then when it comes to most of the things, footnoting is done. And then you have just 2-3 things which are there where you need to do it all by yourself. So Mendeley helps you. It is called a reference management tool. Zotero also helps you. The only thing is, there are some minute differences between these reference tools, how it would operate. So the process might be different, but the end result which they want to achieve is this only. Now, if you don't have any of these tools, because not every university would provide the scholars with this, then there are certain reference generators also. So say, for example, there are free reference generators available online. Okay. So if you just Google, you would get, say, Oscola reference generator, APA reference generator. So these generators are there, but then I personally don't rely much on them. I mean, these free online generators available, you can go ahead with it. Just go ahead with cross-checking a few citations. If it is going on well, you can do it. And then if there's any issue, then your supervisor is there to tell you. They would in any case do their work, right? Then there is something called online tools to understand plagiarism. There are certain tools available wherein you can understand plagiarism. Most common of all is Turnitin. So I've shown 2 reports to you of Turnitin, and the fact that Turnitin has also changed immensely, I tell you. I mean, when I started using Turnitin, the facility was very different. Down the years, I have seen Turnitin getting more complex and more advanced. The only thing which has remained same when it comes to Turnitin is how to upload a document. That is the only thing which is constant. Otherwise, Turnitin has kept pace with recent changes in technology. So that is what I say. I mean, if the tools which are there to help you with plagiarism are advancing themselves, or people are making advancements when it comes to how to go ahead with plagiarism, there are tools to understand plagiarism, catch hold of the things. The technology is improving there also. It is parallel development. Don't consider it as a development which is going in single line or single direction. It is both ways, parallel development. So Turnitin is there, Urkund is there, Authentica is there, right check is there, then it depends upon your university, what tool they want to refer. Personally, I am a fan of Turnitin. I mean, probably because I've been using it since a long time. So that is the reason why I'm more of a fan of it. And one of the reasons why I like Turnitin more is the way they catch up with recent developments. So I'm not required to use my mind much. The moment I started thinking about this ChatGPT and other things which are coming up and just holding my head, what is this happening? I saw this option of AI in Turnitin. So that makes Turnitin my personal favorite. So whenever you have a question in mind regarding something which is there is definitely an answer in Turnitin. And I believe Nagpur University is also using Turnitin nowadays. So that's all about the things. Yes, any questions? So this answers all your questions. What is plagiarism? Why not do it? When not do it? How not do it? Okay? Yes. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am. I have one question. It is very
Please tell
simple
me.
question, but I want to
Mhm.
ask. Ma'am, when we mention in a article or in thesis table
Hmm.
or graph,
Hmm.
uh,
Correct.
I wrote article on terrorism related.
Mhm.
I used last year data till 2002, and now I
Mhm.
want to take that information in my thesis again.
Mhm.
Shall I use it, or I want to add it even date of 2023?
Okay.
So how
So
will I do?
depends. From where did you pick the original information? 2022 one.
It is on authorized website of Asian intelligence website.
So from there only you would pick the 2023 data also?
Yes, ma'am. It
Hmm?
is available on that
Okay.
website.
So now tell me whether the data is scattered or there is a composite table of all the data.
Composite, ma'am.
You know?
But
So there is only one table existing in that particular website.
like a sheet, ma'am. It is in different type of columns. I will take only the number of attacks, uh,
Mhm.
killed person, injured person numbers.
But it is based on one table which is existent, right?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
So now the first thing which you need to do when it comes to your work is this. See, if you have seen some good theses, you would see before you start with chapterization, there is a list of abbreviation, list of case laws. You've seen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So there is
Abbreviation
a
list.
list of tables and figures is also there.
Yes.
You need to put list of, if you are using too many tables and figures, even if you are using two, you should come up with a list of tables and figures, right? Now you need to first go ahead with numbering of tables and figures in your thesis. Now let's say that this table would be table number 5. Okay. Now what you do is you just below that table or above that table, depending upon your supervisor, whatever guidance you receive, you write table number 5, then you write a heading to that particular table. Okay. And towards the end of that heading, you put a footnote.
Okay.
Footnote number. है ना? And when it comes to your footnotes, there you need to put the information that you have taken this information from a particular website. Now, depending upon the mode of citation you are following, you will have to write that particular information. Plus, depending upon the mode of citation which you are following, as I told you, Blue Book would require you to write your date and time also. Now here there is a catch which you need to be very careful about, because you are talking about data which might relate to different people. Na? So be very careful that you assess it either on one day only or if you have assessed it on different days, then based on that, you will have to write different footnotes also.
Okay. Ma'am, I had used it before 1 year, exactly in article of
So then you have to write
Indian National.
that also.
Indian, yes, yes, ma'am. But it is till to 2002. So I am asking question ki if it will become self-plagiarism or not.
So it is
I
till
will use it.
2002.
Yeah, and I want to add the information of 2023 or maybe 2004.
So, so see, based on the website you have referred from which you take the composite data, you write that in footnote, and below that write see also, and write your work
Art-
so that it doesn't come
Article
under
5.
plagiarism. Yeah. See
Okay,
also में
thank
लिखिए
you.
ना. That's what I told you about introductory signals.
Yes, ma'am, I will follow it. Thank you very much.
So if you are, say, for example, writing two different tables, then in any case you have to write that information differently. But if you are taking the original idea of how to write the table, because the data which you are talking about, as I get from the information you have given, is a composite one. So it contains lot of things. You would be picking some of them also, right? Some of them
Yes,
only, no?
yes,
Not the
some of
entire
them,
thing,
not
some
entirely.
of them. So this picking of some of them is an idea which you have already used once, no?
Yes, ma'am, in one article.
So you write
But
the
it,
introductory, you write that particular footnoting. Then next line, write see also, right? Then
yes,
colon, and then you quote your own article for the idea which you are using.
thank you so much.
Right? So that would save you from both plagiarism and self-plagiarism.
Yes, I got it.
Any other question?
Yes, ma'am, I have a general question. That what the UGC regulation 2018 talks about the idea, because generally I have seen like when we read many journals or all the ideas are copied from one another. Yeah, they have expressed in a different way. That is the another thing. But mostly we find that even if it is not fundamental idea, one is copying from the another person. So how the regulation goes about it?
See, as I told you, I think I have shown in one of the slides that 10% of picking up from here and there is fine.
But ma'am, unprotected idea generally it is used to be like generally people copy the idea because this is what I
That
have
is not
seen.
done. That is not done. That is what I am saying. No,
And we don't even know that where the idea actually originated from and who is the original like author of author of that
this
idea.
is the
So
problem.
it just keeps going on. Yes.
See, what you are saying is the problem. And I also have this, I also used to have this question in mind when I was of your age, when I was doing my PhD work. See, same thing can be thought about by two different people in different continents, right? Now, what matters is who has published first. See, idea is in your mind, fine, good. But did you publish it? So for that thing, you need to refer to what we know as Charles Darwin's work, right? So what Charles Darwin thought of was an idea which one more scholar had thought of. But the only difference was Charles Darwin was courageous enough to publish it. So now you quote Charles Darwin. Now the problem is how to locate, right? So that is the reason why we always suggest our students to use softwares like Turnitin. Okay, so many a times when even I write something and I put it in the software, I realize that some of it is already published, right? So that is the only way you can locate what is happening in some other place. Who
But
has
when we
published
give
first
the credit,
owns
when
the
we are
idea.
giving credit to the real author, where I am taking the like subject matter from or idea from whatever I understand from that particular paper. So when I'm giving the credit to the author, so what problem is there in like copying that thing? Not exactly copying, I should not say that copying, but then if the idea strike into my mind as well, even I think in the same way, then why should I just divert my mind that no, this is not the way I should think, because someone else has that same idea, so I should go in another direction.
See, the question is, how much can you pick from someone else's idea? And how much of it should be original work? PhD has to be original work, no? That is
Yeah,
the
so
reason why
ultimately it comes to expression. So ultimately it comes to expression. Like finally we end up that the expressions should not be the similar one, or so this was my question. And
so you
one
need
more
to give
question
some.
I have, ma'am,
Okay,
with your
one
due
question,
permission.
one by one, please. One
Yes, yes,
first question first. Okay?
yes, ma'am, yes,
So,
yes.
because,
Madam,
yes,
Madam, in extension to what Madam asked before me, Madam. Suppose I read 10 articles or books on a particular subject matter, and then I try to reiterate it in my words, like
mhm.
you have explained earlier in the sheets also. Now, suppose I express it in my words, there is every possibility that I would come across repetitive words which are quite generic for me. Now, in that case, as you have already explained, but I fail to understand, then it is very difficult to explain, because I cannot divorce from what the general language of law is.
Okay. So, just a second, I've understood what you said.
Yes,
So, are you able to recollect my telling you that golden words cannot be changed,
yes,
right?
yes, ma'am.
So what a Supreme Court judge has said, what Chief Justice of India says, who am I to even think of changing that thing, no? So golden words cannot be changed. So that is the reason why every mode of citation has a methodology, how much you can do. Say, for example, 10 words, continuous, would not come under plagiarism. See,
Okay,
I
okay,
have told you about a part of it. No, there are certain
right,
complex things which are there in Turnitin. When it comes to Turnitin, we go ahead with uh, certain modalities. Okay. So say, for
yes,
example, how many words get excluded? As you said, there are certain expressions which are very common. If
yes,
you
yes,
try to give some other word to it, you would be changing the entire meaning.
right,
That would, in fact, be fallacy. That would be
yes,
misrepresentation of the idea.
right,
That would be communicating a wrong thing to people, right? So that is the
yes,
reason why these kind of settings are allowed. Say, for
okay,
example, 10 words. So if it is 10 continuous words, then Turnitin would not catch it. Similarly,
okay,
endnotes,
ah,
right? Endnotes.
yes,
So if I go ahead with that kind of uh, Turnitin setting, then your endnotes will not be picked in my plagiarism assessment.
okay,
Now, this is very necessary. Why? That you need to have certain settings in plagiarism of Turnitin or any other software. See, there are certain judgments which are so common that if you write a particular thing, those judgments would get quoted. Say, for example,
right,
Menaka Ramanna Dayal Shetty,
yes,
right? So these
yes,
judgments, they get quoted. You simply can't help it, na? So if that particular thing is in your footnote, and I have gone ahead with a setting which says that footnotes are to be excluded, then it would not come under plagiarism at all. So that is the
okay,
reason
okay,
why you need to master your art of referencing. Na?
right, right. Okay, madam. Thank you. Thank you.
That is the
Sorry for
reason why we teach. And, and there's one more thing which I told you, that when you don't want to overburden the text, you write those things in footnote.
Okay, okay,
That would also get excluded if I have gone ahead with that kind of setting in my Turnitin. So much depends upon your Turnitin settings also.
okay,
So that is also done by the institution taking care the UGC guidelines. There are a lot of complex settings in Turnitin.
okay, madam.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ma'am, our next resource person, Dr. Unni sir, has joined. So if the participants has any doubt, they can kindly mail ma'am, and as and when it is possible for ma'am, she'll revert it back.
Oh, they're always welcome to do it.
Ma'am,
Good
so
afternoon, Lisa.
so on behalf of Postgraduate Teaching Department of Law, Nagpur University, I want to extend my deep sense of gratitude to you, ma'am, for sharing your immense and large expertise as well as valuable knowledge on plagiarism and its recent trends in India in this digital era. Ma'am has rightly said that the more you practice, the more smoothly you will sail. And she has discussed
That's
in
only
detail the detailed working of Turnitin, very detailed insights ma'am has given, as well as various kinds of citations and the reference tools has been explained by ma'am. So thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us your valuable time and joining with us. Hope
Thank you
this is
so much for listening so patiently. And thank you so much, Payal ma'am. And very good afternoon to Unni sir. We'll get back to each other.
Thank you so much, Priya. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam.